Hello, this is Mish from Downtime Distractions, with the first look review of a title coming to Steam called On Rusty Trails. So we define our first look review in a different category than a full review by a few caveats. All three need to be completed, until then we class it as a first look review. So they are quickly: the game time we've put in is under 8 hours, we've not completed or finished the title, and we have room to gain more skills or knowledge across single or multiple facets of the title. But we still have enough knowledge to give you an idea if you'll like this title and express our opinion on it, and also advise if it's worth a purchase. So On Rusty Trails is a single player platformer. You play as a little metal being and you have to traverse the levels, so you have to avoid a multitude of obstacles and enemies. The story goes is that you are the character called Elvis, a little metal being whose house just got destroyed. So you go on an adventure to track down the maker of the house to collect your guarantee so they can build you a new house. As you advance through the adventure, you discover and experience some interesting situations. So this is developed and published by Black Pants Studio. Previous titles from these devs, one is called Tiny and Big Grandpa's Leftovers, and the other one is called About Love, Hate and the Other Ones. Both of those are available on Steam, and both had pretty positive feedback from the community as well. They also have a few iOS titles as well. I'll put their website link below, so if you want to pop along to have a look at those, by all means. So this is coming to Steam on the 13th of June at a price of $12.99 US. This will be available for the PC, Mac and Linux as well. Okay, so the gameplay and mechanics. So platforming is really the whole concept here. It's the main bread and butter for this title, obviously. The main interesting component with that platforming is that in Elvis's world there seems to be two main types of creatures. So you have the rusty red and the hairy blue. So you are the rusty red, clearly. So Elvis, he finds a suit. So he finds the hairy blue suit. So you can swap between the two creatures. So you can instantly shift from rusty red to hairy blue, and these two creatures experience different reactions to the environment around you. For example, when you're rusty red, all the blue blocks disappear. The world reacts to you as you progress through the level. So this opens up the game mechanics really for the complexity and the tricky gameplay of swapping between the red and the blue. You also have magnetic boots as well, so you can walk on any surfaces 360 degrees. So combine these two features and things get quite interesting. So I want to compare this title to a kind of a cross between Giana Sisters and an older title which is called And Yet It Moves. So if you're familiar with either of those two, Giana Sisters has the unlocking of the areas with the flick of a switch swap between two sisters, and Yet It Moves is a kind of a 360 spinning and platforming title. So additionally to, I guess, those components, we have a few other nice mechanics as well that keep the game feeling fresh in different zones and different levels. So we have a few boss fights thrown in. We also have a few levels where instead of doing the kind of standard platforming, you're falling sideways, so you have to maneuver your trajectory to compensate for your movements, which can lead to some interesting situations. Every zone also comes with its own challenges, whether it be you're being attacked by rockets, or maybe there's no lights for a while, or there's laser beams, or you just have a ever-cycling system of blocks that you have to jump between, and also probably working with lasers as well, so it can get pretty complicated. To give you an idea of content as well, I finished a run-through on this title in about 5 hours, which isn't a lot, but I didn't complete all the components of the game. So we have the 7 zones, we have roughly 100 levels and 3 bosses. So there are secret rooms to find as well. I found a few. The longevity of this title, after you've completed the one run-through and listened to the story, I guess, and follow the story along, it's going to come from the online ranking system. So by that I mean every time you complete a level, it'll come up at the end and tell you what number you are, I guess, in regard to how quickly you completed the level. Now for this, I think it's going to get interesting around this component. I mean, there are other games that do this as well, but you know, it just adds that kind of competitive edge to it, which is always good, because once you played through it once, you need something to kind of make you want to do it again. We also have a collectible token system, and these tokens can be used for saving at certain checkpoints. Or you can take the gamble and take the tokens to the end of the level. So for example, say there's 3 tokens to collect, I use 1 on a checkpoint and it'll say you've got 2 out of 3 tokens. So obviously, if you want to be a completionist, you probably want to go through and collect them all without saving, is really the point there. But for me, that didn't really appeal to me. I'm more about the timing and trying to get first place and trying to think of different ways to complete the level to make it faster as well. And that's going to be the fun thing about this game, is there's many different ways to complete the level. So it's going to be interesting to see how fast people can actually complete these levels. Alrighty, so let us have a look at the options menu, then I'll get into a summary. I don't think there's any point in breaking down how you play the game, because as you can see, it's pretty simplistic. There's nothing on the UI to talk about, and the input commands are very simple. You go up, down, left, right. I was using my gamepad, and I found the gamepad better than the keyboard and mouse. But all you've got is obviously a jump and swapping between the rusty red and the hairy blue. So I'm not going to break that down any more than that. So options menu, then we'll go into a summary. So let's have a look at the options menu. So what we have here: resolution, obviously a necessity, so it's good to see. VSync and full screen, yes or no. Would be good to get a windowed borderless mode. Quality. Now I saw this and I was thinking, I've played the whole game and I've been running on normal, but you can't actually go any more than that. You can just go backwards, so you can go to crappy or ultra crappy, which I think is pretty funny. Okay, so anti-aliasing, a couple options in there. So we got off. There we go, all the way up to 1632 MSAA. So interesting. And we got brightness and music effects and sound effects, separate sliders. That is always appreciated. And controls. So this is all rebindable. So really good that you can rebind this stuff, because some people like, obviously, it's, as I said before, minimal input with this game. Pretty, left, right, up, down, jump, and change between the rusty red and the hairy blue. But some people like certain buttons for the main button, so it's good that this is here. And let's go back. So that's really it. We've got credits there. You got a level select as well, so when you're finished, you can actually go through and choose your specific levels. But the options menu, the sound is okay. There's a couple options around graphics. You've got the basics here. Could do with a lot more, but games like this, it's tricky because it's quite limited in how far you can go down with it. But I think they've done an okay job here. So let's start with graphics in the summary. So I always start with graphics, audio, then gameplay. So a splendid looking title, very desolate though, but that's obviously deliberate because of the situation the character's in. Has some very nice comic strips as well to illustrate the story, and a free comic strip as well from the Steam store, so you can download that, I believe, if you want to check that out. Generally an attractive looking game, but very gloomy. So if you're wanting something really upbeat, the story is upbeat, but a bit gloomy visually. But one thing I did notice, it's not so much a negative point or a complaint, it's just more a point of note. I felt that Elvis, the main character, was often too small or too far away. Now this is done so you can see the environment and the obstacles, but at points I just felt a little bit disconnected with the character. So a bit more up close time, so you can see the mannerisms and the features of the character, would have been good. But it's not a big deal, it's just something that I noted. So onto audio. Now audio's done very well. It gives you the impression of a dreary, desolate world, but often has, I guess, an upbeat soundtrack, which I found really helped along for the kind of the bit tricky areas where you got to repeat quite often because you die quite a bit. So the upbeat tracks sometimes help with those areas. The ambient noises and the general sound effects, pretty good. They delivered a feeling of desolation, which is exactly what they were aiming for. So no narration in this title as well. So the story is delivered with a comic strip and emotes, funny enough, and also strange noises from the character. So it definitely works well. You're given a story competently, so that's good. But if you're wanting a game with narration to listen to, this doesn't have it. It's not so much a negative point, it's just the style that they've gone for. And finally, the gameplay mechanics. So very fun gameplay here. The 360 walking, the swapping between the rusty red and the hairy blue, really means you need to think about your next move, and also quite often you need to use a bit of skill as well and timing to get a good jump or avoid an obstacle. So that's pretty good. I had a lot of fun with that component. Very enjoyable. But I guess there is an inconsistency here, which is the difficulty. Sometimes I would find myself stuck on an area where I'd need to have a think about it and, die maybe 10, 15, 20 times. It's not a lot when you're, respawning instantly and it takes you 3 or 4 seconds to die. But I would get past that point and then I would just blitz through, say 10 levels without even batting an eyelid. So there's just that inconsistency here. And on top of that as well, is this game too easy? Now, that's a really hard topic to talk about with this one especially, because it didn't stop me having fun. I had a lot of fun even when it was easy. It's a fun game and the mechanics are fun. It's got a good story and everything's quite solid across the board here. But could it have been more difficult to add more challenge? Definitely. How would they do that? Well, that's tricky. I mean, you could add harder levels, but at some point things become so frustrating that it's no longer fun. I mean, some people do enjoy that, but a lot of people don't. So I think they've kind of gone on the easier side here. They could, you kind of got the fence, and it's hard to get it on the fence with difficulty in a game like this. The only thing I could suggest would be if there was an easy and a hard mode that you could choose from, and the hard mode would, I guess, hinder your jumps, or maybe something, another environmental factor that adds something else to make it a little bit harder. For when you play through it, you can maybe tick up the difficulty a little bit. But you have that online ranking mode, which is going to appeal to a lot of people. It appealed to me. I redid a few levels to try and get first place, but that is going to be really difficult when this goes live, because some people are nuts about platformers, and it's going to be very competitive. I can see that now. So I'll probably wrap it up here and just say graphics good, audio good, gameplay very fun, but there's that concern about the difficulty. But that doesn't take away from the story or the gameplay components. That's all very fun, and the story is interesting too. And you have the replayability of the rank mode, but it's a tricky call. 5 hours worth of gameplay for a playthrough at a price of $12.99. I mean, some people say they don't care about the price. Well, some people also have a lot of money, but for a lot of people, the price of value, time for money, is an important topic. So it's something to think about as well. So one playthrough, roughly 5 hours, $12.99. Is that worth it for you? I'll leave that question for you to answer yourself. So this has been Mesh, and I've had a first look review of On Rusty Trails. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. I've enjoyed making the video for you guys. I hope I've answered a few questions about the title. Please leave me some comments below. Thumb up if you liked it, thumb down if you didn't, and please subscribe, as it really helps us out going forward. And I'll see you next time.